Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we're going to ask a question we don't ask of many Pokemon cards, but I feel like it needs to be asked about this one. Is Pikachu and Zekrom too good? You see, we did a video recently about Arceus and Algar and Palkia. It was a video that had been widely requested by a bunch of people who watched this channel, and it's a video that people seem to appreciate. And it's not the kind of question I'm going to be asking about a huge amount of Pokemon, but I do think this one does deserve the consideration. You see, it keeps coming around. Now, when it first came out in Team Up, it basically became the best deck in the format. And there were some other good decks, but it pretty much went straight to number one. Now, when Unbroken Bonds came out, we saw the emergence of Reshiram and Charizard, and then we really did have those two decks fighting out for best deck in the format. The fact that Choice Band hadn't quite rotated at that stage meant that Reshiram and Charizard could one-hit KO Pikachu and Zekrom, but Pikachu and Zekrom couldn't one-hit KO them back. I think that probably just gave Reshiram and Charizard the edge, because Pikachu and Zekrom was generally a little bit faster. But, I don't know, it was very much kind of a two-horse race. And then Cosmic Eclipse came out. And when Cosmic Eclipse came out, we saw Mega Lopunny and Jigglypuff, which many people heralded as the end of Pikachu and Zekrom, because it was a deck that pretty much entirely revolved around GXs, and Mega Lopunny and Jigglypuff did 60 damage base for free energy, plus 60 more for each of your opponent's EX and GX in play. Just GX and Standard, of course, EXs have all rotated, and that was said to be too good a counter, and Pikachu and Zekrom couldn't survive. And then Sword and Shield came out. And people pretty much stopped playing that. And Zacian came out. And Pikachu and Zekrom was pretty good against Zacian. And we kind of saw another two-horse race. And it was very much Pikachu and Zekrom versus Zacian to try and decide who was the very best deck in the Pokemon TCG. And then Rebel Clash came out, the most recent set, and we've seen that Dragapult has really been beating down Zacian. And I did my video the other day, and I said with a fair degree of certainty, I'll be honest with you, that Pikachu and Zekrom is now the very best deck in the format. People keep trying to say it's not going to be good, but then it keeps being good. But why is it so good? What is it about this card that makes it so gosh darn good? There are basically three things. Number one, Full Blitz lets you accelerate free energy to one of your Pokemon in play. So basically, if you play properly, as soon as you get one Full Blitz off, you should set yourself up for the game. If you can afford to do so, i.e. you're sure you're not going to get KO'd, then you Full Blitz onto yourself ready for the GX attack. We'll get there in a minute. If you think you might be KO'd, you Full Blitz onto another Pokemon and you're ready to roll. The second thing that's so good is that GX attack. It does 200 to the active and 170 to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. So if you hit them with a Full Blitz, they are going to be enraged, except for a couple very rare exceptions. Things like Snorlax VMAX, for instance. You are going to be able to finish off any Pokemon. You hit them for Full Blitz, they go to the bench, you finish them with Tag Bolt, and take 2 or 3 prizes off of them while doing 200 to the active. Or, of course, if your opponent ever plays a Dedenne, you just take out Dedenne on the bench. And this is the real reason why Pikachu and Zekrom can be so brutal. Because it wins the prize race. It's a free prize Pokemon, right? A free prize Pokemon is supposed to be really, really good, but it gives up free prizes, so you end up kind of losing a prize race if you're not careful, blah, blah, blah. This is terrible, but no, that is not what happens with Pikachu and Zekrom. And this harkens back to what I was talking about with Arceus and Dialga and Palkia. That had the GX attack, which said that for the rest of the game, every time you took a KO, you took an extra prize. And what it really did was it put the prize race in your favour. It meant that even though you had a free prize Pokemon, you were actually taking extra prizes, so it didn't matter. And we see the same thing here with Pikachu and Zekrom. You are a free prize Pokemon, but if you're taking out multiple Pokemon in one go, you're probably not that worried. And that's kind of the point here, unfortunately. It can be absolutely devastating. I've seen, on more than one occasion, I have seen Pikachu and Zekrom take 6 prizes in one attack. Knock out a tag team or a VMAX in the active, while finishing off a tag team or VMAX on the bench, and you're off. But of course, free energy for full blitz is a lot, and even 200 damage isn't that much. Not in the age of tag teams and VMAXs and all of that. And what's really made Pikachu and Zekrom ridiculous is the support that it's had. Now, it's had the combination of Thunder Mountain and Tapu Koko, both Prism Stars. We'll talk about what happens with a rotation in a moment. Now, Thunder Mountain reduces your attack cost by 1 if you're a Lightning Pokemon. And Tapu Koko accelerates 1 energy to each of 2 bench Pokemon from the discard pile if you're willing to Lost Zone it. But you don't give up a prize or anything, so yeah, you're definitely going to be willing to Lost Zone it. So essentially, you go second, bearing in mind turn 1 your opponent cannot attack and cannot play a supporter. You go second, and on turn 1, attach an energy, play Thunder Mountain, use Tapu Koko, and then you got a turn 1 full blitz. And this is where it gets terrifying when you're playing against Pikachu and Zekrom. If they get the turn 1 full blitz, and they know that you cannot get a KO, bearing in mind you've got 240 HP. Now, as a side note, this is actually the joint weakest of any tag team Pokemon we've seen. Gengar and Mimikyu would be another example. It's still 240 HP. Yeah, sure, if you're playing Excadrill, you're probably going to be able to do it. Outside of that, very good chance you're not. Then what they're going to do is full blitz onto themselves, and even against like some random single prize deck, by the time they take their second turn, there's a good chance they've taken 3 prizes, except they've not just taken 3 prizes, they've knocked out 3 of your Pokemon and really, really hurt your chances of ever getting set up and winning. That's why it's so brutal. The other thing is Electro Power. Electro Power lets you do an extra 30 damage with all your Lightning Pokemon this turn, so that's how you mitigate the comparatively low damage output of Pikachu and Zekrom. When I say comparatively low, I don't mean it's low. I mean when stuff like Reshiram and Charizard is doing 230, and stuff like Zacian is doing 230, doing 150 or 200 does end up looking a little bit low. Let's be clear, it's still a lot of damage. So we've got a free prize Pokemon that can take extra prizes against a single prize deck. I mean, let's say you're playing a single prize deck, and you have to play Dedenne. If you go first, you might well end up 4 prizes down by the time you get to your 3rd turn. Bearing in mind on your first turn, there's no supporter and no attack, so your first turn is going to be significantly slower and less reliable. Oh. And this is basically what ends up happening here. You end up in this situation where you've got a Pokemon that is taking extra prizes and gets rolling in a single turn while accelerating all the energy round. The question I started the video with was, is it too good? And there is an argument. There is an argument that having this Pokemon that can set up really quickly, use Electro Power, and then take extra prizes off. I mean, 170 to the bench is ridiculous. To put that into context, Cramorant V does 160 to the bench for free energy, and you've got to discard them all. Pikachu and Zekrom just does this as part of its GX attack. And I've already said the 6 energy would be a crippling downside if it wasn't for Thunder Mountain, Tapu Koko, and its own attack. And honestly, unless you can KO it immediately, Pikachu and Zekrom getting a turn 2 Tag Bolt with the bench damage, assuming they go second, of course, really is not a difficult thing to pull off. It's another thing that Excadrill accepted because, you know, Excadrill, and maybe Blacephalon as well, because they can also one-hit KO for free prizes. It really limits the playability of single prize decks. Because Pikachu and Zekrom is not going to let you win the prize race very easily. In the same way that ADP didn't. So you've got to be something like Excadrill or Blacephalon that can get a one-hit KO in order to keep up. Which is kind of a ridiculous statement, right? In order to keep up with Pikachu and Zekrom as a single prize Pokemon, you've got to be able to do 250 damage and KO a free prize Pokemon really quite easily. Ouch. And that's my biggest problem with Pikachu and Zekrom. I don't want to tell you definitively it is or isn't too good and should or shouldn't be banned. I want you to make that decision for yourself. I want to make the argument and I want to leave it to you guys. It has basically dominated every format it's been in, except arguably when Cosmic Eclipse was a newer set and Mega Lopunny and Jigglypuff really was out in force. Outside of that, it has basically dominated the entire time it's been out. Decks like Reshiram and Charizard and decks like Celebi and Venusaur have largely come and gone. Reshiram and Charizard still sees play, but it is not the same deck it used to be. It really is a fire box deck rather than just Reshiram and Charizard. And Pikachu and Zekrom just keeps chugging along. It has been given about as favourable a position as any card that I can remember seeing. It is ridiculous. And if we didn't have all of these extra special tricks, etc., it probably wouldn't be as good. But who cares? Because it definitely is. Now, I do need to just very quickly talk about what is likely to happen in the future. It might finally be the end of Pikachu and Zekrom. Now, bearing in mind, we've all said that before, so take it with a pinch of salt. But Eternatus VMAX should be hitting 270 damage, and it's got 340 HP. Now, that's relevant because 150 plus 170 when it goes to the bench will not be a KO. And this is going to be when Darkness Ablaze comes out, which is essentially when the rotation happens, which means Electro Power is going away. So Eternatus VMAX will be one-hit KOing Pikachu and Zekrom, and they will be struggling to two-hit KO back. In fact, they won't be able to two-hit KO back. Oh no, I suppose there's stuff like Vitality Band and Galarian Zigzagoon, but it's going to be extremely difficult to get that two-hit KO back. I'm not worried about losing Thunder Mountain that much because you've still got Energy Switch. So even though you're not going to be able to use Thunder Mountain, if you Tapu Koko to Pikachu and Zekrom and another Pokemon and then Energy Switch it back, you'll still get the turn 1 full blitz. It's more awkward to pull off, but I don't think prohibitively so. I don't think losing Thunder Mountain's going to hurt too much. I do think losing Electro Power sucks. But I really do think Eternatus VMAX, if it ends up being as good as we think, being able to one-hit KO for free prizes while Pikachu and Zekrom struggles to two-hit KO back, maybe that will finally be the thing that actually takes Pikachu and Zekrom down. Having said that, we don't actually know if Eternatus VMAX is going to be that good. We do not have enough data from tournaments. And let's face it, we've all signaled the demise of Pikachu and Zekrom before, and it hasn't worked out yet. Is it too good? It is certainly one of the most ludicrously overpowered cards we've seen, certainly in the 10 years I've been playing, and given all the research I've done on previous formats, I think it is definitely up there as one of the most ridiculous cards ever. And it's not necessarily the card, it's the context in which we've had it with all of the tricks. But if you want to make an argument that it's too good and we shouldn't have it, it would be hard to argue against it. So that's my thoughts on Pikachu and Zekrom as it is, as it was, and as it will be moving forward. But I would be very excited to know what you think. So let me know in the comment section, would you? Go nuts, be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/TheWasi. patreon.com/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.